first of all, I served in 95 and 96, so about 20 years ago. And the city of Monterrey is about 3.5 million people, so it's a pretty large town. Some say it's the second largest in Mexico, and others say it's the third largest. I think those two cities are competing for that title. There were 2 missions in Monterrey when I was there. There was the north and south. Since then, I understand they've realigned all the boundaries, and there's east and west. Monterrey South was mainly most of the city, and then it also had a couple little outlying towns in the boundaries. One of the larger ones was called Saltillo. Saltillo was kind of a nice mountain town, a bit cooler in the summer. Monterrey got pretty hot in the summer. It was usually over 100 degrees. I did see it snow once, and everyone there was so excited it was snowing because they hadn't seen snow all their life, so it was a pretty rare thing. There are mostly wards. There are some branches. But the wards, most of the wards, at least when I was there, aren't as big as the wards here. You know, they may have the same number of membership on the rosters, but much less active members, I think. They announced a temple when I was there in the mid-90s. It took a while to build that temple, but there is a temple in Monterrey now. The chapels are interesting because, you know, there's so much growth. In order to keep up with that, they don't build full huge churches like they do, you know, here in Utah or anywhere. They'll start small and then they'll add on to it. Sometimes, you know, there'll be kind of little manufactured, industrial looking chapel, and then they'll maybe put a gym and some other classrooms next to it later, and then they'll cover over the whole thing. So there's a hallway inside. So they keep adding on to chapels. They start small and they add on to them, make them bigger. That way they can work with the growth, because there is a lot of growth, Most people are converts down there. You know, there's very few people who've been members all their life. I'm sure it's a little different now. At least the ones I baptized have been members for 20 years now down there. So I'm sure it's changing. But there's a lot of growth, but there's also a lot of inactivity. Most of the people I taught were Catholic, but not Catholic by belief. They were more Catholic by culture. That's just what they were raised in. And what you did is you go to church maybe twice a year. You know, you go on Easter and you know, family events and things. So it was kind of in their culture to belong to a religion but not really live it. And that sometimes that kind of flows over into the gospel, into the the LDS faith. Also, you teach them and they're all excited, and then the missionary gets transferred and they quit going. So I remember hearing there was about 13% retention rate, and I thought, 13? I mean, people I baptized I've got to be better than that. And through the years, I've tried to keep in contact with some, and there's quite a bit who are no longer active in the church, and that's pretty sad. But then there are others who are very strong. So Monterrey is a very large place. I served right in Monterrey in my first area. I served kind of in the southwest or southeast corner, and then I was lucky enough to get transferred to Saltillo, and that's I say I was lucky because it was going into the summertime, and Saltillo is much cooler. It's a smaller town, still fairly large town, but it is a bit nicer in the summertime, and I loved it there. And I was kind of in a richer part of town in that area, which I can't say rich, but which made it honestly a little bit harder. When you're tracting and stuff, when you're in the nicer parts of town, they don't seem as receptive, I've noticed. But a great area. And then I transferred back to Monterrey for the winter, and then the next summer I was back in Saltillo. I felt so lucky to be there, just because of the climate. I don't do very good in the heat, and I think the Lord knew that. I think He knew that I would be healthier and have more energy and a better missionary where He put me. So Monterrey, Saltillo, then Monterrey, then Saltillo, then back to Monterrey. Yeah.